They told her to walk away. They told her a black girl with no address, no family, and no protection had no business stopping in a wealthy white neighborhood at 2 in the morning. But Nia Brooks didn't listen. She had $23 in her pocket, frost biting through her shoes, and a fear she had learned to swallow since childhood. The fear that helping the wrong person could cost her freedom or her life. When she heard an elderly woman crying in the snow, Nia knew the truth no one wanted to say out loud. If she stopped, she might be arrested. If she didn't, someone would die. So she made a choice that could destroy her. As sirens crept closer and security lights turned her into a suspect before she could become a hero, Nia wrapped a stranger in her last blanket and waited for the cold to decide their fate. Stay with me, because before this night ends, a billionaire will arrive. And what he discovers will shatter everything he believes about race, power, and humanity. Nia Brooks had $23, a backpack that smelled like damp paper, and a thin jacket that promised warmth but never delivered. The wind off Lake Michigan didn't just sting, it punished. It found every weak seam in her clothes, every bruise on her pride, every place the world had already told her she didn't belong. Chicago in December is the kind of cold that makes you understand how people disappear. Not metaphorically, literally. One bad hour, one wrong corner, one moment where you stop moving, and the city swallows you whole. Nia was 17, 3 years past the age when someone should have still been checking if she'd eaten. 3 years since her grandmother June died from a stroke and took home with her. The foster system had taught Nia a cruel math. There were always fewer beds than kids. And once you got too old, you weren't a child anymore. You were a problem they could finally stop pretending to solve. That night she walked through Lincoln Park because the streets were cleaner and the security lights stayed on. Rich neighborhoods were dangerous in their own way, but they also had heated air vents, covered doorways, and fences that blocked the wind. When you're homeless, you learn to read a city like a map of survival. You learn which buildings exhale warmth and which ones exhale suspicion. And suspicion was the part that scared her most. A black girl with a backpack moving slow past million-dollar homes? Nia could feel the eyes behind curtains. She could feel the story people invented before she ever opened her mouth. She could already hear the words in their heads: thief, trespasser, threat. She kept her gaze down and her steps steady. Keep moving. Don't look lost. Don't look hungry. Don't look like you need anything. Need is the scent that attracts the wrong kind of attention. Then she heard it. A voice, thin, frightened, cracking in the wind like a candle trying not to go out. Help! Please! Nia stopped so fast her sneakers scraped ice. Every instinct in her body screamed to keep walking. Because she knew what happened when you got involved. She'd seen the videos. She'd lived the assumptions. You try to help and suddenly you're the suspect. You're the headline. You're the explanation everyone uses to justify why they didn't help in the first place. Still, the voice came again. Closer now, breaking into sobs. Nia turned toward the sound before she even decided to. Between two massive homes in the shadow of a tall stone wall, she saw an elderly woman in a nightgown and slippers, white hair flying wild, bare arms covered in goosebumps. Her hands clutched a framed photograph with cracked glass, like it was the only thing keeping her from floating away. The woman's lips were blue. Her knees trembled. She looked like someone who had stepped out of a warm bed and into a nightmare by mistake. Nia swallowed hard. "Ma'am?" she called, keeping her voice gentle. "Are you okay?" The woman blinked at her, eyes cloudy and panicked. "I need to find my daughter," she said, voice shaking. "Claire, she's waiting. I'm late. I'm so late." Nia's chest tightened. Dementia, or something like it. Her grandmother had drifted like this sometimes near the end, words slipping through time as if the present had holes in it. "Your name?" Nia asked softly, stepping closer. "What's your name?" The woman stared at the photograph like it could answer for her. "Eleanor," she whispered. "Eleanor Whitmore." Nia glanced down the street. Empty. Quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made you feel like you were being watched. "Do you know where you live, Miss Whitmore?" Nia asked. "Your address?" Eleanor's face crumpled as if the question physically hurt. "I can't," I can't remember. Why can't I remember? Her voice wobbled into a sob. Please, I don't want to be out here. Nia's fingers went numb inside her sleeves. Calling 911 was the obvious move, the responsible move, the move people would praise in a comment section. But Nia didn't live in comment sections. She lived in reality. Reality was two police officers arriving, seeing a homeless black teen with a confused, wealthy white woman, and deciding the story before they ever asked a question. Reality was Eleanor unable to explain who Nia was, why she was there, what happened. Reality was Nia getting handcuffed, just to be safe. Reality was her ending up in a system that swallowed people and never apologized. Nia's phone was nearly dead. She had no one to call, no address, no adult who'd rush in and say, "She's with me." She stared at Eleanor's trembling hands and felt the decision rising like a wave. She couldn't leave her, not to the cold, not to the dark, not to a death that would be slow and lonely. "Okay," Nia said, and her voice surprised even her with how steady it sounded. "We're going to figure this out together. We're going to find your home." Eleanor's eyes flickered, relief, fear, confusion, all tangled together. "But you'll get in trouble," she whispered, like some part of her knew the world. Nia forced a small smile. "I'm tougher than I look." She took off her only jacket. The wind hit her like a slap the moment it left her shoulders, so cold it felt hot. But she wrapped it around Eleanor anyway, pulling it tight and tucking it under her chin. Eleanor gasped. No, you need that." "I'll be okay," Nia lied, because sometimes survival is built on lies you tell to keep someone else alive. They walked slowly along the street, stopping at gates and driveways, hoping something would spark Eleanor's memory. Eleanor leaned on Nia as if Nia was the only solid thing in a world that kept shifting under her feet. After a few minutes, a motion light snapped on somewhere above them. Then another, the security system of the neighborhood waking up. Nia felt her stomach drop. A camera rotated with a faint mechanical whir. Eleanor murmured, I know this. But she didn't. Not enough. 10 minutes later, Nia heard it. The crunch of tires on snow, the low hum of a car slowing. A security SUV rolled up. Two men stepped out in dark uniforms, hands already hovering near their belts. The driver's eyes locked onto Nia first, not Eleanor. "Hey!" one of them barked. "What are you doing here?" Nia's throat tightened. She lifted one hand slowly, palm open. "She's lost," she said. "She wandered out. I'm trying to help her get home." The guard's gaze flicked to Eleanor, then back to Nia like Eleanor was a detail, and Nia was the problem. "Ma'am," he said to Eleanor, louder, as if volume could fix dementia. "Do you know this girl?" Eleanor blinked, confused. I need Claire." The guard's jaw tightened. He turned to his partner. "Call it in." Nia's heart hammered. "Don't, please," she said, voice cracking before she could stop it. "It's freezing. She needs warmth. She's confused." The guard's eyes narrowed like he'd already decided she was manipulating the situation. "Step back from her," he ordered. Eleanor clutched Nia's arm, frightened. "Don't leave me," she whispered. Those words hit Nia like a punch. "Don't leave me." The same thing Nia used to whisper into her pillow after Grandma June died, when the apartment was too quiet and nobody came. Nia didn't move away. She couldn't. "I'm not hurting her," Nia said, trying to keep her voice calm, trying to sound like someone who wouldn't be dismissed. "Look at her. She's going to freeze." A siren, distant at first, floated over the neighborhood like a warning. Nia's blood turned to ice. This is how it happens, she thought. This is the moment everything flips. You try to do the right thing, and you end up paying for it like it was a crime. Eleanor's knees buckled suddenly. She sagged against Nia, her weight suddenly heavy, her breath shallow. The jacket Nia had given her was not enough. The night was winning. Nia panicked. "She's collapsing," she shouted. "She needs a hospital." The guards hesitated, and in that hesitation, Nia acted. She dragged Eleanor toward the nearest shelter she could see, an alcove beside a stone gate with a faint heat vent near the bottom. It wasn't much, but it was something. "Stop!" one guard yelled, but Nia was already lowering Eleanor to the ground, cradling her like she was fragile glass. Nia yanked her backpack open with shaking fingers. At the bottom was Grandma June's blanket. Thin, worn, patched. The last thing she owned that still felt like love. The blanket she swore she'd protect because no one else ever protected her. Her hands hovered over it. Then she looked at Eleanor's blue lips. The way her breath stuttered. The way the cold was taking her, piece by piece. Nia didn't hesitate anymore. She wrapped the blanket around them both, pulling Eleanor into her arms, pressing her own body between Eleanor and the wind. Eleanor's eyes fluttered. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you?" "Because you're a person," Nia said, voice shaking. "And you shouldn't die out here." The sirens grew louder. Flashing lights began to paint the snow in red and blue. Nia's mind raced. They're going to think I did this? They're going to think I'm the reason she's here. They're going to look at my skin and decide the truth isn't convenient. Eleanor's hand fumbled upward and found Nia's cheek, surprisingly warm for a second. "Your grandmother," Eleanor murmured. "She raised you right." Nia blinked back tears that froze at the edges. "Just stay awake," she begged. "Please." Then headlights swept across the gate, brighter than the security SUV. A sleek black car skidded to a stop. A woman in an expensive coat jumped out, running so hard she nearly fell on the ice. "Mom!" she screamed, voice shredding the air. "Mom! Oh my God!" Dr. Claire Whitmore hit the ground beside Eleanor, shaking, hands trembling as she tried to cover her mother, to lift her, to understand. And right behind Claire, another figure stepped out of the car. A tall man in a tailored suit, his face pale with shock, his eyes wide like he'd just walked into a nightmare he couldn't buy his way out of. Graham Whitmore, the billionaire heir everyone in Chicago knew by name, the man whose companies owned half the skyline. He stared at the scene, his mother in a homeless girl's arms, wrapped in a ragged blanket, guarded by security, police lights closing in. His gaze locked onto Nia, and for a split second, the air held its breath. Then he rushed forward. "Nia!" Claire choked, finally noticing her, finally seeing how her lips were trembling, how her skin looked gray, how her eyes struggled to stay open. "Oh my God, she's freezing too." Nia tried to speak. Her tongue felt thick. Her body felt far away. "She was lost," Nia whispered, forcing the words out like they were the last thing she had. "I couldn't leave her." Graham Whitmore dropped to his knees, staring at Nia like he couldn't make his mind accept what his eyes were telling him. And then Nia's vision went dark, right there in the snow, with a billionaire watching her slip away. Before I ask you the questions, I want you to sit with this one thought for a second. In a world that's quick to judge, kindness can look suspicious until the truth shows up. Now tell me honestly, would you have stopped like Nia did, even knowing people might accuse you just because of how you look? Yes or no? Not the sharp kind. This was deep, aching, everywhere. The kind that told her she was still alive, even though part of her had already let go. Warmth followed, heavy and suffocating, pressing into her bones like her body didn't trust it yet. Voices drifted in and out. Her temperature's dangerously low. Hypothermia, stage 3. Does she have any ID? Who is she? That last question sliced through the fog. Nia tried to open her eyes. They wouldn't cooperate. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She could feel it already. The familiar weight of being discussed like a problem, not a person. She forced one word out. "Please." The room went quiet. "She's awake," a woman said, her voice calm but urgent. "Easy, sweetheart. You're in the hospital. You're safe." Safe? Nia didn't believe that word anymore. She finally managed to open her eyes. White ceiling, harsh lights, tubes in her arm, a beeping monitor keeping count of her heartbeat, like it was something fragile and borrowed. Her first clear thought wasn't about herself. "Eleanor," she croaked. "Is she okay?" The nurse's face softened. "Yes, Eleanor Whitmore is stable. Mild hypothermia, dehydration. She's alive because of you." Because of you. The words didn't land the way they should have. Not yet. The door opened. Nia's stomach clenched instantly. Police. 2 officers stepped inside. 1 woman, 1 man. Their uniforms were neat, their faces unreadable. Behind them stood Dr. Claire Whitmore, eyes red, jaw tight, holding herself together with sheer force. And behind Claire, him, Graham Whitmore. Up close, he didn't look like the headlines. He looked older, tired. His expensive coat hung open like he'd forgotten it was cold. His eyes were locked on Nia, not with anger, not with gratitude, with disbelief. The female officer spoke first. "I'm Detective Elena Ramirez. This is Officer Paul Henson. We need to ask a few questions about what happened tonight." Nia's heart rate spiked on the monitor. Questions? This was the moment everything could turn. Claire stepped forward abruptly. "Before you do," she said, voice sharp but controlled, "you need to understand something." She pulled out her phone. Security footage filled the screen, minute after minute. Nia giving Eleanor her jacket. Nia holding her up when her legs gave out. Nia wrapping a thin, ragged blanket around them both. Nia refusing to leave. Silence swallowed the room. Detective Ramirez watched the footage twice. When she looked back at Nia, something in her expression had shifted. Something rare and human. "You stayed with her the entire night?" Ramirez asked quietly. Nia nodded, throat burning. "I couldn't leave her." Officer Henson cleared his throat. "You realize you could have called for help?" Nia turned her head slowly to look at him. Her voice came out hoarse but steady. "And be arrested instead?" The room froze. Graham Whitmore's head snapped toward her. Nia didn't look away. "I'm a homeless black teenager," she said plainly. "No address, no guardian, and she couldn't explain who I was. I've seen how that ends." No one interrupted her. "I didn't trust that help would come without a price," Nia finished. "So I stayed." Claire covered her mouth, tears spilling freely now. Detective Ramirez closed her notebook. "The report will reflect that you saved Eleanor Whitmore's life," she said firmly. "You're not under investigation. You're a witness and a hero." Hero? The word felt foreign, dangerous. After the officers left, the room felt smaller. Claire moved closer to the bed. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Not just for tonight, for the fact that you even had to think that way." Nia swallowed. "Most people like me do." Graham finally spoke. "I followed the ambulance," he said quietly. "They told me my mother was found with a homeless girl." He paused, struggling. "I expected a story," he admitted. "Something ugly, something that made sense." His eyes dropped to the IV in Nia's arm, to her cracked lips, to her hands still faintly shaking. "I wasn't prepared for the truth." Nia said nothing. Graham stepped closer. "My mother wandered out because of a system failure. Alarms malfunctioned. Staff trusted technology more than instinct." His voice hardened, not at Nia, but at himself. "She should have died," he said, "and you should never have been the one paying the price to save her." Claire reached for Nia's hand carefully, as if afraid she didn't have the right. "Do you have somewhere to go when you're discharged?" Nia shook her head. "I'll figure something out." "No," Claire said instantly. "You won't." Nia looked at her, startled. "You're coming home with us," Claire said. "Not as charity, not as a headline, as family if you want." Nia let out a bitter laugh that surprised even her. "People don't usually mean that." Graham met her eyes. "We do." 3 days later, Nia stood at the gates of the Whitmore estate, wearing borrowed clothes that still didn't feel like hers. The mansion looked even bigger in daylight, cold, perfect, untouchable. This was the kind of place people like her weren't supposed to enter unless they were cleaning it. She felt the old reflex kick in, shoulders tight, eyes down, make yourself small. Eleanor was waiting at the door with a walker. Her memory flickered, but when she saw Nia, recognition broke through like sunlight. "You stayed," Eleanor said, voice trembling. "You didn't leave me." Nia nodded. "I promised." Eleanor reached out and cupped Nia's cheek. "You gave me your warmth," she said. "Now let us give you a life." Inside, everything was too much. Marble floors, silence that echoed, kindness that didn't demand anything back. Nia barely slept that first night. She waited for someone to change their mind, for security to knock, for the mistake to be corrected. Instead, the next morning, Claire placed a folder in front of her at the kitchen table. "School enrollment," she said. "GED prep. Therapy if you want. Legal guardianship." Nia stared at the papers. "Why?" Claire didn't hesitate. "Because my mother lived. Because you almost died. And because this world already decided too many things about you without your consent, Graham added quietly, and because I don't want my children growing up thinking success means ignoring suffering. Something in Nia cracked, not pain, relief. Weeks passed. Nia learned how to breathe without bracing for impact. She learned that food could be eaten without guilt, that books weren't decorations, that laughter didn't always precede loss, but the world didn't forget her so easily. One afternoon, a delivery driver mistook her for staff and handed her boxes without asking. Another day, a neighbor asked Claire if the girl was temporary. Each moment reminded Nia that rescue didn't erase reality. But Claire noticed. Graham noticed. They corrected people, loudly, publicly. "She's our daughter," Claire said once, without hesitation, and the room went silent. The night Nia passed her GED practice exam for the first time, Eleanor held her hands and whispered, "Your grandmother would be proud." Nia smiled through tears, because for the first time, survival wasn't her only goal. She was building something, and somewhere deep inside, she knew this story wasn't just about being saved, it was about being seen. Nia used to believe safety was temporary, that even when you found warmth, it was only a matter of time before the world reminded you who it thought you were. So when spring arrived in Chicago, and the snow finally melted from the Whitmore estate, Nia waited for the ground to shift beneath her feet, but it didn't. Instead, life began to do something unfamiliar. It steadied. Mornings started quietly. Eleanor liked to sit by the window with her tea, humming songs she half remembered from another lifetime. On her clearer days, she asked Nia to brush her hair, just like a grandmother might ask a granddaughter. On the foggy days, she still reached for Nia's hand instinctively, as if her body remembered what her mind sometimes forgot. "You stayed," Eleanor would say again and again. "I'm still here," Nia always replied. Claire rearranged her work schedule without announcing it. She started coming home before sunset, cooking dinners she was terrible at but proud of anyway. Graham, who had once measured his days in meetings and markets, began measuring them in quieter victories. Eleanor laughing, Nia smiling without fear. A house that no longer felt like a monument to wealth, but a place where people actually lived. For the first time since her grandmother died, Nia stopped sleeping with one ear open. That didn't mean the world suddenly became kind. It meant she finally had people who stood between her and its cruelty. When Nia enrolled in GED classes, the counselor looked at her transcript, then at her clothes, then at her skin, and sighed. "This will be challenging," the woman said. Claire leaned forward calmly. "She survived 3 winters on the street," she replied. "I think she can handle algebra." Nia passed her GED 6 months later with scores that stunned everyone but herself. She'd learned long ago how to work under pressure. The difference now was that failure no longer meant starvation. The local paper picked up the story eventually. They called her a miracle, a hero, a symbol of hope. Nia hated the photos. They cropped out the exhaustion, the fear, the fact that if she hadn't chosen kindness that night, she might still be alive, and Eleanor might not be. Or worse, that she might be dead too, frozen somewhere the cameras didn't reach. During an interview, a reporter asked, "What made you stay?" Nia paused. "Because leaving would have been easier," she said honestly. "And I didn't want the world to turn me into someone who walks away." The clip went viral. So did the comments. Some called her brave. Some called her foolish. Some said she should have minded her own business. Some asked why Eleanor's family needed a black girl to save her in the first place. Nia read them once. Then she closed the app. Claire saw her staring at the phone that night and sat beside her. "You don't owe anyone perfection," Claire said softly. "You already gave the world more than it deserved." That summer, the Whitmores announced the launch of the Eleanor Whitmore Foundation for Youth Empowerment. Housing, education, legal aid, and mentorship for teens aging out of foster care or experiencing homelessness. Graham stood at the podium, voice steady but eyes wet. "My mother survived because someone, society taught to be invisible, refused to look away," he said. "That's a failure we're not repeating." Nia didn't stand beside him. She stood in the crowd, where she wanted to be. The first shelter opened in a renovated school building on the south side. Clean beds, real food, counselors who didn't flinch at trauma. Staff who knew that survival skills were not character flaws. On opening night, a girl about Nia's age hovered near the door, backpack clutched tight to her chest. "You don't have to stay," Nia told her gently. "But you can," the girl whispered. "I've never heard that before." Nia smiled. "I know." 2 years later, Nia walked across a college campus with a worn notebook under her arm and purpose in her step. She studied social work, not because she wanted to save everyone, but because she understood something most people didn't. Systems fail quietly. People fall through gaps that don't make headlines, and change doesn't start with pity. It starts with presence. One evening after class, a professor stopped her. "You have a way of seeing people," he said. "That can't be taught." Nia thought of Eleanor in the snow, of security guards who saw a threat, of a billionaire who saw the truth too late and then chose to listen. "It was taught," Nia replied, "just not in a classroom." Back at the Whitmore home, Eleanor's health declined gently, like a sunset that didn't rush. On her last clear day, she asked Nia to sit with her alone. "You gave me time," Eleanor said, voice fragile but sure. "And you gave my family a mirror." Nia squeezed her hand. "You gave me a future." Eleanor smiled. "Then we're even." When Eleanor passed peacefully weeks later, the memorial plaque at the front gate was updated. Beneath the original words, another line was added: "Kindness is not weakness. It is courage in its purest form." Nia touched the stone often, not in grief, but in gratitude. Years later, a new winter came to Chicago. Not as cruel, not as sharp. Nia stood on the steps of the foundation's newest building, watching snow fall gently onto streets filled with people going somewhere warm. Inside, teenagers laughed, ate, planned futures. Claire joined her, handing her a coat. "You ready?" Claire asked. Nia nodded. "Always." As they walked inside together, Nia thought about the girl she had been at 17, cold, afraid, invisible, and the woman she'd become, not because someone rescued her, but because someone finally saw her humanity and chose not to look away. That night had changed everything, not because a billionaire showed up, but because a black girl with nothing decided that kindness was worth the risk. Before we say goodbye, I want to hear from you. How did this story make you feel? Do you think Nia made the right choice by staying that night? And if this story touched your heart, please comment 111 below to let me know. Tell us which country you're watching from. And if you believe stories like this matter, please share this video so more people can see it.